Hey, this is Mr. Vale's math class, and today we are going to talk about equivalent fractions. Check it out.
Cool, so fractions, and as you can see, I got my cat, because cats love fractions. First, before we talk about equivalent fractions, I want to do a quick review of how or what fractions mean. So when we write a fraction like 2/4, the bottom part is the name of the fraction, or the value, and we call that the denominator. And the top of the fraction is the amount that you have, or the numerator. So 2/4, that means we have fourths, or it is one thing, being split into 4 pieces. So one thing into 4 pieces, and we have 2 of those things. So I would shade in 2 of those things like such. So that this circle represents 2/4, because it's 2 out of 4. Now, before I talk about equivalent fractions, I want to talk about equivalent coins, because coins and fractions have a lot in common. Because kind of like how fractions have denominators, coins have denominations. So 2 different denominations of coins we have nickels, which are equal to 5 cents, and we have dimes, which are equal to 10 cents. So these are 2 different denominations or values of coins. Now, let's say I want to write 2 dimes as an amount of nickels. Well, how many nickels would 2 dimes be equal to? Well, if you guessed 4, you're right, because 2 dimes, or 10 2 times is 20, while 4 nickels, or 4 times 5, is also 20, so they're both worth 20 cents. So that's how equivalent money can work. So the similar version for fractions is, let's say we have halves and we have fourths. When we split something in half, we split it into 2 equal pieces. And when we split something into fourths, we split it into, 4 pieces. So if I shade in half of this, and I shade in half of this, well, 1/2 is equal to how many fourths? That's equal to 2/4. Or how we would write it as a fraction is 1/2 is equal to 2/4, and these are equivalent fractions, or 2 fractions that have the same value, so the same amount is shaded in, but they're written with different numbers. So we've got 2 fractions that are written with different numbers, but they have the same value because the same amount is shaded in. Let's try this with another example. So let's say I want to figure out 1/3 can be written as a different
Fraction.
So maybe I'll start with 1/3. So that's me taking one thing and splitting it into 3 equal pieces. And it's not perfect, but we're not giving out any awards for perfect circles. And let's say 1/3 would be like this amount right here. And we want to figure out a different way to write this. Well, if I split each of these thirds into 2 parts, and I'll use a black pen to represent that, what's the new name for this fractional amount? Well, instead of having 3 equal parts, we now have 6 equal parts. And if we split something into 6 parts, we're talking about sixths, and we have 2 of them. So 1/3 is the same as 2/6, because there's the same amount shaded in, it's just being written with different words. And those are equivalent fractions. And we could even write it like this. So in the end, equivalent fractions is essentially writing the same amount in 2 different ways. So I can write 1/2 as 2/4, or I could write 1/3 as 2/6. And every fraction can actually be written in a whole bunch of ways. So I could write 1/2 as 3/6, or 50 hundredths. And each of those, an interesting thing is this part is half of that part. So that's another relationship that equivalent fractions have. I hope this was helpful, and if you'd like to see some more, this is just the introduction to equivalent fractions. And my video right here, I'll show you some more ways to find equivalent fractions.
Hey, I hope that helps, and feel free to check out some more of my fraction videos. Thanks guys, bye.
In Mr. Vale's class.
Very nice.